Well, today I'm going to share with you some of the features of the JCPenney 0104 model. It's a vintage machine, it's solid, and it has a lot of different stitches that you can utilize. It's color coded, which makes it easy. So for your basic stitches, this dial turns. There's your largest or widest stitch of 4, 3, 2, and then 1. And then you go to this red zone when you want to do your buttonhole. Let me do this so you can see the buttonhole. There we go. So this is the buttonhole settings. It's a 4-step buttonholer. And of course here's where it is on your dial. If you wanted to make a buttonhole, you would put it in the red to the 0, between 0 and 1. And I don't have a buttonholer on here, but we're going to pretend like I do. And get my pedal going down here. Then you would turn it to the next step. And the next one. And then of course back to 4. But I don't have my buttonhole foot on there, so it's not going to make the buttonhole in that sense. Pull this back. What I really want to show you is some of the decorative stitches that this machine can make. Like this is, I'll put the pressure foot down. The thread came out, so I'm going to show you how to thread this thing. Take it out. Now you see the numbered discs is missing on this, so I set it blindly, which is kind of hard. When I got it, the sticker was missing off. These are all decals, obviously. So the thread comes from the back, comes across to this first thread guide, comes down, goes through this thread guide. Then it goes with the pressure foot up. Your discs are tension discs are disengaged. So you go and you put this through that, and then I put my foot down so that it doesn't slide around. And then come under, around, there's a little wire guide. Go up to the arm. Underneath that thread guide, the next thread guide down here. And there's one in front of the needle. And just to make sure that I have a nice clean edge, I'm going to cut my thread at an angle, at a diagonal. And see if I can thread this without too much trouble. A lot of glare in here. Look at that, first time. Alright, so I've got that. I'm going to put my foot back up. Always want to make sure that your threads are behind and to the back. At least 4 inches, because otherwise, when you go to make those first stitches, your thread can come out. So let's see what kind of fancy stitches we can do with this machine. I do a top stitch on some of the things that I do to just make a fancier outline of a seam. And on this machine, you have your needle in the center, needle to the left, regular zigzag. These are all regular stitches at the top. These are stretch stitches on the bottom. So to do the stretch stitch on your dial, this dial, there's a little SS right here. Then you turn it to the SS. And that's straight up with this white line here. So I'm going to do some of these stitches down here for you. I don't have the double needles in here. This is for a double needle. So this kind of machine, you can put a twin needle in it and have 2 threads going at the same time. And there's 2 threads pins back here. So I've got on stretch stitch, and I want to do the F. So I'm going to put it to F. Okay. And I always like to start it with the needle and the fabric. And let's see what she can do. with this particular stitch. Take that out. And sometimes you just want to do a kind of funky stitch, you know, for a design on something. And you can do a little ladder stitch, kind of like this. So let's try another one. Make sure I've got my 4 inches. And this time, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to leave it on F, and I'm going to turn it to 4. And let's see what it does. The needle in. That needle in there. That also helps me from losing my thread. Oh, except I didn't pull it in through. See that? That's why it's so important to have that extra leeway. I did not have it all the way in there. Let's go like that. Put that thread through. And to the back. Needle down. Let's see what we get now. Now it's the same pattern. The only difference is, because it's on the number 4, it's wide. It's going to be a wide design. As you can see, this extra string out here, it is a wide design. It's this same setting, but at the widest setting and not a straight, a stretch stitch setting, a regular straight stitch setting, it ends up looking like this. So let's see what G does. Now G on here, set as a stretch stitch setting, should be a blind hem stitch. Let's see if it comes out that way. And it is. This is what a blind hem stitch looks like using this machine. So that would be your blind hem stitches. These stitches would be, your material would be folded like this, and then this would catch that edge, so that when you unfold it, you have a nice neat. The neat thing is, you can see the reverse pattern is exactly the same. I just had this scrap material laying around, and I thought, well, let's do some stitches. And for a regular zigzag, you would have it on C. Because if you see above here, it also says twin needles. This is for twin needle setting. So you're going to have it in between here to do the twin needles. And regular zigzag is like this. The numbers here would be your stitch length between those zigzag stitches. Then there's also a mending setting on this machine. See if it goes this way. Where you go past that, and the mending is, it drops the feed dogs, and that way you can move the fabric around. You can see the feed dogs are now been dropped. They're down. We'll put them back up. Oh, that's right, I forgot. Got to disengage them. When you turn the hand wheel, it puts the feed dogs back where they need to be, so they will do their job. I had to learn that about this machine. This particular machine, when you drop your feed dogs down to do mending or quilting, in order to get them to pop back up, you change your setting on your wheel, and then you turn the hand wheel. So let's do one more. Let's see. See, this is with twin needles. This is without. And I want to do this stitch. And I want it to be the widest at 4. Let's see if I get that. I'm sorry, it has to be the stretch stitch. Because I want it to have the top and bottom stitches. There it goes. My thread broke, so trying to go too fast. But anyway, you can see it's the ladder stitch, which is the same as what's on the machine. So those are some of the fancy stitches this machine can do. It's a heavy duty machine, and you can use it for edging, reinforcing seams that you're sewing. And let me tell you, the solid machine, this JCPenney, and I actually do have a couple different JCPenneys. I love them. I just think they're great. Evidently, from what I've heard, I don't know about this particular model, but Singer is the one who contracted JCPenney to make these machines. So I guess their ancestry is actually in Singer. So I do like the JCPenney models. I just like the way they're put together, and I hope that this will entice you to, maybe if you see one of these out there, grab it. This one has a free arm. It has the storage in the free arm for additional bobbins and whatnot. Slides right back on there, real easy. And what's nice about the older models, newer ones, you have to unscrew all these screws to get to the light bulb. These, you just open it up. You just open it up and you get access to the light. That way, if you have anything that's getting tangled up, you can get in there. You can see it's solid metal in there. There's no plastic in these guys. And that's why I love the vintage machine so much. It just makes good sense to have a solid metal machine that will be there and last and last. And these do last. This particular machine was built in the 70s, so we're talking over 30 years, guys. So if you want a heavy duty, this will sew through a lightweight vinyl and a very thin kind of leather with the right needle. Anything other than that, you would need yourself a walking foot. So pick one up. This is the JCPenney 0104 model.